So I think there's a legitimate longer episode that we can do, whether it's in the shoot and maybe in the shoot a longer in the shoot, like a 20-minute or a legit hangouts and maybe hangouts, because if we research together and we came together on a hangouts with what we had, it might be better. But I've seen video of not swathers but combines and um legitimate tractors where they were actual AI. The stuff you're talking about, very much GPS, and I do consider that AI, where it's, hey, I switch the button, it's looking at forecast stuff like that, and it cuts until I say stop. It's a giant robot. But these things that I've seen, um, like the combine was cutting, it came back to the hauler, it dumped all the grain in the hauler, and then it went back out and kept cutting. And then the tractor went to all the round bales, picked up the round bales one by one, and loaded them onto a trailer, and then went back out. And the guy was hauling his own hay back to where he was at, and he was dropping it off, coming back, and it would bring it individuals to him.
Okay, see, and I don't know whether that's AI, because how does it know where those bales are? Was it part of the program that when they bailed and the bale dropped, did it give it a specific GPS coordinate where
I
that
would
bale
guess
was?
so. It probably like some sort of um waypoint like we do in a
Right,
GPS when we go out hunting and stuff like that. But
right. Well, so is again, is that artificial intelligence? Is it making, to me, artificial intelligence is a machine or computer making subjective decisions, right? Where a
yeah,
GPS
yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah, you're
necessarily
right.
do that. See, that's the distinction I make, and I don't know whether that's right or not. I,
So
I don't know really
maybe that's
the
where it's at, is it's just robotics in general and ag versus
right,
AI, because you're right. The only thing that would be subjective is, okay, today's a good day, or I see in a couple of days there's an opportunity, I'm going to bring cows in, or I'm going to go cut the crop, or
right,
whatever it is. That's the subjectiveness, whereas the objectiveness would be, okay, here's the length of my header, here's how far I have to go. I
right,
turn, I come back, and then
right.
every time I go back, and then when I go back over it with a baler, that baler's dropping the bale, and it hits a waypoint in the computer system. So that, yeah, no, I'm okay. That makes sense too.
But I don't know that. I'm just
Yeah.
guessing that. I'll tell you, Daryl Lemon would be a really good one to talk to about that if you could ever
Does he
get him
know
on.
stuff about that?
Daryl is a phenomenal farmer.
Hey,
That guy,
sounds like guest number 2 for next year.
yeah. Well, that was one of my things. And Daryl is,
And
I mean,
well,
he is really a go-to guy, and he's embraced the um, technology of it,
yeah.
where
Well,
he uses GPS.
there's such a small or such a small family-owned company that it makes sense that he would try and do that to
Right,
exponentially increase their
right.
output.
Well, and he's not afraid of work. I mean, he works
Yeah.
and works and works. I mean, those guys, he literally before daylight till after dark. He's a hard worker. Um, but he used to be a spray pilot, and that was the days when you had a you had a card, literally a cardboard card wrapped with a um, like crepe paper type material,
Okay.
and they flew. And at the end of the deal, you'd hit a button, and it would drop one of the cards off the deal. It's loaded on the wing, and it would show you you could see from the air where you just were. You go up, you turn, and you come back on it, and you line up with that card, and then you can see where you were on each end of the field. So that was old technology, but it
Yeah.
was technology. I mean, it would give you an indicator where you were, instead of having someone maybe out flagging or standing there too. That was, one way to do it
Yeah.
if you had
Less
the
people.
manpower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Or the old guys, they were just, okay, I think I was right here, and they're hitting what they can. And, again, inefficiency by doing
Yeah.
that. And then later on, they got GPSs in these,
But that's
airplanes now.
the cool thing too, though, is like the the evolution in efficiency, because
Yeah.
we started with, okay, we have to have 100 horse team to pull this massive thing, right? And then we're like, okay, now we have a tractor, so now we have the small tractor. Okay, now we have this massive tractor that can pull the entire field, right? And that was ridiculous because it was steam powered and it was humongous. Then we get to, okay, now we can have a manageable size with the same amount of horsepower in a combine. Okay, cool. Now we can use aircraft. So now we're using aircraft. We only need one person doing all this stuff. okay, now the aircraft with a couple other things, like the evolution of more and
Mhm.
more and more and more efficiency has just been, I think it's cool. But
Well, and I think it's not just the efficiency of it. I think it's uh the need is there. You know, the whole industrial revolution was about doing more with something mechanized, right?
yeah, but I also think the Industrial Revolution was a turning point in American history in the sense
Oh,
that
no question.
Thomas Jefferson, his entire life, professed what he called the yeoman farmer. And as soon as the Industrial Revolution hit, the yeoman farmer died. That
Right.
concept, the ability, yeoman farmer was dead. And people don't understand that unless they look into history and they're like, what? Like
What's a
like
yeoman farmer, right? I
exactly
mean,
like everybody, if we were the America that Thomas Jefferson had foreseen, the majority of America would be farming now. And it wouldn't be big farms. It'd be probably 20 acres at a time. But the
right,
majority of America would be, it would be farms and or a ranch or something. And then there would be the odd people like us who have the ability to, a couple sections, right? But then
right,
just the majority would have a
right.
farm or a small little, couple animals.
Well, it's all you can do by hand.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, that's what's manageable.
the
And that's what I
Industrial
mean.
Revolution killed all of that.
Well, it did, but it also the need was there, or the ability to create the need for more with less input, right? Because the minute you go from a sickle or a scythe to make shocks of grain or wheat, for instance, and then you do that, you couple a pair of workhorses, and didn't even have to be workhorses, just regular, a good saddle horse hooked to something that pulls you,
Right,
and you're cutting that. That's a game changer.
right.
So, just the mechanization of things, and then coupled with, hey, I can do this and I can get more out of this. I mean, one rides with the other, and necessity, as you know, being on a ranch, necessity is the mother of invention, and that is so true on so many things. And then there's adaptation of that for other applications, and that's where we're at. I mean, we're sticking people up in the way up in the air, um, have been for you know since Orville and Wilbur, and the dream of that, clear back to Da Vinci. Look at some of the things that he designed
Yeah, I mean, he
that are
designed
viable.
the initial, the
Helicopter.
concept of the helicopter. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
nobody, they're like, what?
And that was how many centuries later, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, it's a
uh,
hard thing to
yeah,
actually figure out.
yeah, right. The vision is there. Do you have the ability to at that time? And sometimes no. I mean, there's all kinds of visions that we can do. I've got a vision for absolute clean
Right.
and limitless power source, but we don't have the technology to do it. But
Or
the
or
vision is there.
or
I've got it.
we're just not smart enough to do it. I mean, if we
Right.
had somebody who was like, oh yeah, I know how to do that, and had some sort of a physics understanding, like they can probably
Right.
nail it and get it
But
done.
there's no
But
way that I thought of this and somebody else hasn't. It is too
Mhm,
simple.
mhm.
Somebody's probably working on it. I hope so. I'd love to see that.
Oh yeah, for sure. We would never we would probably only use oil then in that case for very small things. It'd be more
Well,
pleasure items than.
I don't know, because every dang thing you got takes oil in
But
every
once you
plastics product. But
but I think
yeah,
once you use that, you would slowly figure out ways to get rid of oil
maybe you could.
or
I,
substitute. But
yeah, I mean, it's tough to beat oil. I mean, it's
yeah.
lubrication on every mechanical thing there is pretty important.